Hello, how are you? It's so great to have you on here. I've been really looking forward to this podcast since we met at the conference in Munich, the Nexia conference in Munich. So tell us more about where you are and what it's like, where your office is.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting me for your podcast. It's, pleasure to meet with you, even it's online. And, we had a great time, great chat in Munich last year. Yeah, so I'm in Mongolia. I'm in Ulaanbaatar, the coldest city in the world. So last winter was like minus 40.
Oh
It
my
was the
goodness. There was me moaning yesterday.
Yes, but now spring has come and it's minus 2 now. Yeah, and we're in the midst of busy season of auditing and tax and yeah, we're working, resting, working and coming. Yeah.
And the
So yeah, that goes on.
big celebration times in July, isn't it? Where you have a lot of festivals. Is that right? So it's worth visiting then.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, July is the best time to visit. Yeah, it will be like plus 30, everything's green, everything's nice, and this traditional festival of archery, horse riding, and wrestling is happening in July. So lots of tourists are also coming in July. So yeah, make sure to come in July only, not January.
Yeah, I think now I've heard about the minus 40, I would definitely not be there.
Yes.
So I really want to learn more about, and I think everybody listening really wants to know more about the business environment, what it's like to do business there. We hear so little
Mm.
about Mongolia. So it'd be great to hear about this from you. So you sit between these two absolutely massive economic giants, Russia and China. So how does that geography affect business and how you operate there?
Yes, so yeah, sometimes people wonder, between Russia and China, the giant two company, I mean the giant two countries, how do you survive this, Sometimes we wonder too. Yeah, I think it's because of our harsh winter. Yeah, just personally.
Yeah, nobody else could cope. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else could cope. But yeah, but that was a joke. Yeah. So yeah, being landlocked between Russia and China is, yeah, it's very hard. We don't have sea or ocean routes to trade to other countries, and logistic costs are very high. Yeah. So it's still Russia is having a 60% tariff to us if we export to Russia. If any of the Mongolian businesses exporting to Russia, we have a 60% tariff from the Russian side. So it's really hard to do any business with Russian anyway. So our 99% of export goes to China. Yeah. So one way of the advantage is we're so close to China. It's like a 5 hour drive, 1 hour flight to China. So we're just, next to China. And China is the largest, consumer of the raw materials such as copper, coal, gold. So they're consuming a lot. So that's why our 99% of export goes to China. And it's cheap because we're close. But that's one of the advantage, yeah. But the Russia, we don't have any trade. We just import goods from Russia, but we're not exporting to
So
Russians.
I'm interested you talked about sort of things you get from mining, because mining has always
Mm.
been really central to your economy, hasn't it? So is that
Right.
still the main output of the country, or are there other industries starting to create new opportunities
Mhm.
for you?
Yes, mining. Yeah, mining is continue to be the backbone of Mongolia's economy. So 90% depends on the, coal export, depends on the copper export. So look, we're likely to remain for in the foreseeable future that we're going to be dependent from mining industry, to be honest. Yes. And we have some truly, world-class mineral deposits in Mongolia. It's the fourth largest copper deposit we have, this giant project we have with the Rio Tinto, the Australian giant mining company. And 66% is owned by the Rio Tinto, 34% is owned by the Mongolian government. So that is really good because of this AI, because it's cheap industry booming, this, electric vehicles, this smartphones. So copper is the key element on this chip and the smartphones. that's why copper is really booming, and we're really glad that it's booming.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine. Yeah,
yes,
it's all good for you.
yes, it's good for us. Yeah, yeah. And plus, we have this good news. So recently, like last 2 years, the tourism industry is booming.
That's great.
Yes, so yeah, especially from South Korea, from China. So these economies, our neighbors also, they're booming in their industry. So people are having, much of income, much of cash to travel. And now I think they're tired from these fancy beaches in Thailand or in Southeast Asia. So that's why they're coming to Mongolia now to explore this nomadic culture and our, scenery of the countryside. It's really beautiful, really. We have desert. And so we have Scorpit is a huge one, and we have really great lakes and waterfalls, and our cultures are also very unique. So lots of South Koreans are really interested to come to Mongolia, especially in July or June.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can go wrestling. No,
Yeah,
I have to say it's the falconry that really appeals to me as a falconer.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's also because of their summer in South Korea or Japan or China
Yeah.
is so humid, so hot. But in Mongolia, in contrast, in summer it's really beautiful. It has a breeze in it. You can breathe air. So that's why we're attracting many tourist industries.
Oh, you can
Yeah.
tell how much you love your country. It's so nice to hear. So, so who's investing in Mongolia now? Who are you getting people coming from other countries and investing into the country?
Yeah, yeah. So, before 1990s, it was only Russians because we were almost, I would not say part of Russia, but Russia was, almost controlling us. So the main investment was from Russia before 1990s. But after that, we are seeing increased investment from China, of course, from Canada, from Australia, from, UK, and recently from South Korea and Japan too. So obviously the particular sectors, the mining and natural resources, but also the other sectors investors we are looking, for example, fintech, and tourism, this new renewable energy, for example. We are a very sunny country actually. So out of 365 days in a year, 300 days are we are in sun. So sun is really, like us.
Nice.
So that's why we have this, yes, wind energy, sun, renewable energy is also booming here. So we're seeing increased, investment from other countries.
That's incredibly interesting. So, do you have the talent pool to support this investment? What's
Mhm.
it like there in terms of skills?
So Mongolia is a very, really relatively young and well-educated population. So many professionals now tend to study abroad in countries like US, UK, Australia, and South Korea, and they're bringing back the international experience and expertise back to Mongolia. So we are seeing this to help you with the growing pool of professionals, in fields such as finance, engineering, IT, and business management. So we are, of course, in terms of the population, we are just 3.5 million. So that gives us the challenge of the shortages in some, specialized areas. But overall, companies are able to, find strong teams and strong personnels. And yeah, they can invest in training and development to, professional them. And, yeah, so we're somehow coping it and finding the good talent pool.
No, that's great. So, there's a lot of young
Yeah.
people. You've got such a young population. Do you
Mm,
find that they are quite interested in setting up their own businesses? Because obviously,
mhm,
everybody can go global now with the internet. Are they doing other things now that traditionally their parents and their grandparents would never have done and set up their own businesses in different areas?
mhm. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because of the young population, they have more energy, they have more entrepreneurial, energies in there. Yeah. So we see lots of startups. Yeah. And we also, as a tax company, you know, also receive lots of requests to do their tax and to do their outsourcing business too. And yeah, there are lots of startups, especially for the fintech sector. Buy now, pay later sectors and non-banking institutions are booming, and people are young, so they understand the codes, AI. yeah, so we really seeing the booms in startups, and that's really good. And especially, they build their startups successfully here, and now they're exporting it to other like Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, because they have this massive population, 300 billions or 250 billion sitting in Indonesia. And also, they're exporting services to Uzbekistan, to Kazakhstan, to Central Asian countries too. So we are really ahead of these fintech e-commerce sectors in the Asia, and because of our young startups. So I agree with you.
Yeah, it's very exciting, isn't it? I mean, the future's looking very bright. So,
Yeah.
for international businesses that might be thinking of
Mm,
coming and setting up in the Mongolian market or using it as a base to reach other parts of Asia, what are the
mm,
real advantages for them that might surprise them?
mhm. Yeah. So one thing that can surprise the businesses is how accessible the business environment can be in Mongolia. Because
Mm,
Mongolia is very small market, as you can imagine. We have
mm,
very few companies. Like altogether, we have
yeah,
only like 6,000 companies, and out of 6,000, maybe 500 are quite big,
mm,
and the rest are small and medium, right? So that's why it can be really easy to build relationships and engage directly with the decision makers. From conference to conference, we can just directly talk to business owners, decision makers. And if we are successful with one business owners, they can just refer to others. And it's very small circle. But that's the very, advantage that might surprise them.
yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but it makes total sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the small environment, everybody
yes,
knows everyone, don't they? So it's
exactly.
it's that kind of environment. Yeah. So
It's like, yeah, very easy to become star, like in a boom, but also very easy to fall too. So it
and
depends.
does everyone speak pretty good English? Or
Yes,
yeah, so you can work there in English quite easily. So
yes.
what about the regulatory and legal environment compared to other emerging markets? Um,
Hmm.
is it somewhere that's easier to set up and operate, or how does it compare?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so Mongolia has developed the relatively solid legal framework for private companies and foreign investment. So naturally, like Mongolia, we really like foreign people. Like naturally, we are not racist. We are, because we are so small. We want to work with everyone. So Mongolians are quite friendly. So that's why the regulatory system, the laws are also very friendly to foreign investment too. But however, we have the challenges, of course, the tax. Tax is really, it changes from time to time. Maybe within 5 years, we can see new tax law is going to be landed. So yeah, apart from tax, the other, legal environment is quite favorable and quite solid for foreign investment.
That sounds, it sounds like such a great place. I'll be setting up my own office there soon. So, so you see AI or technology more broadly start to change how businesses are operating in Mongolia.
Mhm,
Um, so, I mean, you've talked a lot about fintech. Has that been very AI led? What's your view
mhm,
on AI and the use of it?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, because of this social media, because of this AI, I think all the countries are really into the globalization, so they can just from everywhere in the world, they can just access the internet and see how the world changes, how AI or how other things are, other things are changing, how quickly. So technology is, of course, yeah, adopting really rapidly in Mongolia. So everyone almost has a smartphone usage and strong adoption to mobile banking and digital payments. AI, artificial intelligence, is really into the automation of the big companies. So they are unfortunately laying over the stuff and start adapting to AIs. But that's also happening in here too. So one way it's a good, but one way AI is still new to us. So there's lot of to be explored in. So I think
It's
the
true for everyone,
sectors
isn't
like,
it?
yeah, fintech, banking, insurance, logistics, yeah, they can be, the elementary level staff can be replaced to AI, but still the middle of managers and above, it cannot be replaced by AI, I think. Yeah, so in Mongolia, AI is still in the same step with the world. Yes, I would say.
So what about the mood amongst businesses? Are they feeling optimistic? Are things going well for them? Are some of them struggling? Are there sectors that are doing better than others? What's the sort of mood amongst your clients
Mm-hmm.
and the
The
businesses?
mood is, yeah, for now it's cautiously optimistic, I would say, because in Mongolia we have the strong demand for mineral exports. We have these resources, mining coal, copper, gold, we have this. So now we're seeing lots of infrastructure developments, lots of improvements, big projects are going on. But on the other hand, recently, because of this war happening in Middle East and war happening in Ukraine just next to us, is also making things, unpredictable. Yeah, just 2 weeks ago, this war has started, and now, just yesterday, oil price has increased substantially. But that means more inflation, more unpredictable, sector, slow growth. Yeah, so we are trying to be optimistic, but because of the macroeconomic things, because of this political instability, still we are facing a challenge.
I think everybody in the world at the moment
Yeah,
is facing a challenge on that, but
exactly.
we
Yeah,
just keep going, don't we? And hope for the best. So, if you were
yeah.
going to make an argument to a business overseas to come to Mongolia and use it as a place to do business, what would be your headline argument for them? What would you say is one thing that's worth coming for?
Yeah, so my headline argument would be like Mongolia represents a frontier market with significant long-term potential, a long term. Yeah, so we combines with the world-class natural resources, young and educated population, and increasing in international investment. Yeah, so and as sectors as tourism, technology, this non-banking AI, and infrastructures continue to develop, alongside with the mining industry. So Mongolia has lots of potential to become the one of the most interesting, emerging markets in the Asian region for long-term investors. You know.
That's
So that's the opportunity we're looking for.
Oh no, it's been so interesting. Honestly, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if anybody wants to get hold of you, they can get hold of you through the Nexia website, can't they, to talk about it further. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Rebecca, for your time too. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk with you and explain our country and how we work. Yes, thank you.
Oh, take care.